everybody doing? It's such a huge pleasure once again. I don't know why, but tonight I'm feeling like super, super, super energetic, like more than normal. Sawadee Kun Noon, how are you? Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you will stay with us and listen to us. Now, I'm waiting for my guest, Tanya Ho, who is originally from Hong Kong, and she is the owner and founder of Museflower Retreat and Spa in Chiang Rai. So, hey, there she is. So, let me just one moment and let me get her in. So, for those of you who are new to my video series, hello, how are you? My name is Abel, and I'm originally from Hong Kong, grew up in the US, and now I live in Phuket, Thailand. Tanya is in Chiang Rai, and I met Tanya when I was going on my first ever yoga retreat in March. I think it was just March.
Yeah.
So it was only 3 months ago, but it seemed like really, really long time ago now after the
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But it's a place that I will always have really, really good memories of because it's so beautiful there, so peaceful, and I really had time to give to myself. So I really highly recommend her place. It's the perfect place for you to chill. It's not like a, like a fancy branded resort, and it's
Right.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not like a backpacker place as well. So it's perfect for like a down to earth feel, but have everything that you need, I think. So I mean, to
Yes.
me, it's perfect place.
Thank you. Yes. And you put it perfectly. So that's great.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. So yeah, I hope that I articulate it correctly based on obviously my experience, and other people have their own experience as well. So, um, but anyways, thank you so much, Tanya, for being my guest tonight.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you
yeah,
for inviting me. Yeah.
yeah, I'm super happy. I look forward to learning from you. Um, we had a short chat when I was at your place about your journey and why you started Museflower and things like that. But tonight we are talking about how to get started on meditation.
Yes.
And what I wanted to ask you is, how did you get started in this journey of I mean, you don't have to go in depth, but how did you get started in this journey of owning a retreat and spa, and what can meditation do to help us?
Hmm. Yes. So, well, first of all, thank you, April, for inviting me to join today and to talk about meditation, which is one of, I guess, the topics that I'm really passionate about talking. So start with the retreat first. Very, very long story short. Actually, I'm from Hong Kong, same as you as well, same as Abel. But I've been working in Thailand. My background in the spas. So I really wanted a place where city people, like people from Hong Kong, they can come to relax and most importantly to spend time in nature. And through that, they can reconnect hopefully to themselves as well.
Right.
And also, it's not just for physical health, but for emotional and mental health as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
so that's how we started Museflower here. And that's my friend Janice is here. Hi. um, yeah. So, well, how about like I mean, that's how we started with Museflower. And meditation really is a big part on like one of a tool that we can use to help to reconnect with ourselves. So that is one thing that we talk about in, Museflower, probably you've joined the classes as well. And so what can meditation do for us, right?
Hmm.
There are so many benefits of meditation. I don't think, I need to like talk about the benefits here, but then the way how I see it, and relating to a quote from a famous brain coach, his name is Jim Quick. And he said that, you can either want to be, if you can either be a thermostat or a thermometer. So a thermometer, it means, you are measuring, your reaction is based on your external environment, right? A thermometer, because you measure the temperature outside. So whatever, happens kind of affects you. Or you can be the thermostat, which you set the temperature and everything around you, rise to meet you. And so I see that, I really love this quote from him. And so when we do meditation, we're setting that intention, right? We are grounding ourselves. That's my friend Cheris there, shouting out, from Hong Kong. And anyway, so with meditation, it's like we're setting that anchor point to really reconnect with ourselves and to anchor, to tune into our inner presence, or you can say like our inner calm, our inner peace. And that's going to help us, to go through the day, because there's so many things we cannot control, right, around us, like, and many things happening. And the one thing that we can control is how we respond to things. And I think through meditation, it gives us a better space, I can say, or better mindset to be able to respond to things in a more conscious way.
For those, okay, let's go back a little bit. For example, I just started doing meditation, maybe just a few years back. I have always heard that it was a good thing to do, but I never understood like what's good about it, And of course, I'm not asking you, to explain as a scientist how it is, because I think meditation is, more spiritual, and I do understand in a beginner's level, what meditation does is because it really calms your mind and it stops you from thinking, so that from what I understand, you actually can learn to react less to outside environment. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if the term mindfulness, it's a really popular term, right? And I see meditation, it's one way to help us to be more mindful. So think about like meditation, maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or, if people really get like an hour, and what's going to happen with the rest of 23 hours of the day, right? Like, how are we going to live? We're not going to, most people anyway, we're not going to be meditating in a cave, or, we're not on the mountains, right? So we have go to work and we do things. So that's where mindfulness comes in. So through meditation, we can practice mindfulness, and we bring that mindfulness attitude, that presence into whatever that we're doing in our daily life. And it builds that kind of connection. I see, a lot of times when we feel disconnected, it brings up a lot of negative emotions. We feel stressed and feel anxious, especially during these times now. A lot of fear come up, and a lot of times part of the reason is because we feel disconnected, right? So meditation is...
What do you mean by disconnected?
Disconnected. So disconnected, like first of all, to ourselves. So disconnected means like sometimes like our mind thinks one thing and then our heart like feels another thing. That's the first to get disconnect. A lot of us, even me, we have it, right? The heart you feel called to do something, and then like your mind's like, no, you can't do it, right? Like, how the mind says, all these things. So that's the first disconnect, right? The mind and the heart, or you can say, with spirit as well. And the second disconnect is, as really in society in general, how we think or we see that we are separate from each other, or we are all just individuals. We are individuals, but we are also very connected. And interestingly, through these times now, we can see that we are actually more connected than ever.
Yes.
But so we are all connected. So that's a second disconnect. If, sometimes we feel that we are individual, we're separate from the, other people, we're separate from nature, we're separate from the universe. I can do whatever I want. But in fact, actually that has consequences, on other people, right? Or on the planet, and so forth. So that's like the other disconnect that I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I think our society and our minds tell us that, you have to survive, you have to function. And hey, Steve. And yes, those are the basic things. But for us to evolve into who we are supposed to be, which is spiritual beings, only living a human experience, and I believe that, and I know that deep down, because I have seen my past lives and my dreams, and I'm very spiritual. I understand that when you think too much, when you work too much, you, like you said, you get totally disconnected, you react quicker, you get unhealthy, you get sick, and that's why we need to go to your place for the retreat, right?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for throwing that in there. Yes. Or any other retreats, any other retreats, to treat yourself. But definitely you can also come to Museflower. Yes.
I always feel that it's not a bad thing to share my experience, because I have done a lot of things that hurt myself. I have thought in incorrect ways. And I always tell people, I might look very successful to you, but I suffer. I make mistakes. I fail all the time. And success does not mean that you don't fail. And it doesn't guarantee any kind of security, because, I mean, the only thing that's guaranteed is that you're going to die.
Exactly. Yes.
That's not a negative thing. That's nature. That is
Yes.
that's part of nature.
Yes.
And so I do understand what you're trying to say, is that we become disconnected with our minds and our hearts. And I wanted to ask you the second question now. And I know I asked you many questions before that. That was not part of
No worries.
yeah, I tend to do that. How do we get started on meditation? If you have already convinced somebody that, meditation is good for you, you should get started. But how? How do we do it?
Yes. So I have 3 practical tips that I'll share today. But before I say that, it's really hard to convince anybody to do anything until they experience it themselves. It's always like, it's like, think about trying to explain the taste of Tom Yum Gong.
You don't do it.
Right? So if they tried once, they're like, oh, I like it. That's where they come to the retreat or do, other things. They like it. And then they say, okay, but how do I bring this back to my home now? How do I integrate this into my daily life? I think that's a challenging thing. A lot of people, they go to meditation retreats and it's like, it's really, really wonderful. Or they go to a yoga retreat where they have experienced meditation. They're like, okay, now I'm back to my daily life. How can I bring those things back to, in my daily life, incorporate them? So my top 3 tips, there seems really like logical and practical, but sometimes we forget to think about it. So same with, any kind of habit. Meditation, I always see, compares like brushing your teeth. So if you miss one day, you don't see any problem. You miss maybe like a week. If you don't brush your teeth, maybe you're still fine. Maybe your breath stinks, but, it still looks fine. But if you don't brush your teeth for like a month, maybe something starts to happen. And I see that same as meditation. So if you miss it once in a while, that's totally fine. But the key here to really reap the benefits is build a regular practice. A regular practice doesn't have to be daily, but it could be, weekly. Once a week, you set this day, I'm going to do my meditation. It's better than being ad hoc. So my first tip is about scheduling it in. It's really, it's like a no-brainer. But sometimes when we don't schedule things don't happen because we're like, you know how it is, right? Sometimes you have like holiday and you're like, oh, I have nothing to do, so I'll get to do this, and then end up you don't get to do anything. So schedule it and tag it with something that you already do in your daily routine. That's what I find helpful for me. So for example, I do my meditation always after I have breakfast. So that time I always, after breakfast, I have to have breakfast with my son, and then he goes and play, with like his granddad. So I always have that time. That's like my golden time where I can do my yoga, my meditation, my journaling. So always tag with something that you already do on a daily basis. I find that it's easier to, to keep up a regular schedule.
Right.
So that's my first top tip. My second top tip is think about your 5 senses. So engage your 5 senses to create the space for meditation. So for example, you think about, because I have a toddler, 2-year-old, and you have children. They're older than me, I know, but my children. But, when they were younger, you'll probably think about a bedtime routine, right? There's a bedtime routine for children usually, or for babies, right? Because you have to, they take a bath and maybe you read a book and then you start to dim the lights, you have to quiet down, because to teach babies to sleep. And I, in fact, actually think adults, we all need that as well. But anyway, so think about meditation. It's like when you think about your five senses, engage your five senses, to help you to create that, it's like that signal for the brain. Oh, it's time to meditate. Okay. Same as your bed, right? Like when you look at your bed, when you switch off your lights, you switch off your phone, that's kind of signaling your brain, okay, it's time to sleep. Okay. So same thing for meditation. So for example, if you think like the five senses, like sight, smell, sound, touch, and taste. So for example, for sight, for some people, it may be seeing, picture of like a god or goddesses or whatever that they believe in. Picture that, or teacher, can help to kind of trigger that signal in the brain, or, seeing like a candle, for example, or like for sound, maybe they listen to a specific type of music, when they do meditation, or smell, they burn an incense and instantly, the smell of the incense reminds them of meditation. So
just take notes. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. But just think about, think about the five senses. And I teach this also in Museflower, right? And I always ask the guests, just what works for you, the five senses is for each person's different. So when you create that space, you do it the same every day. And then it's kind of like telling your brain, right? It's time to meditate. And then it's easier to go into that space.
Right.
So that is my second tip. I know it seems obvious. And my third tip, it also seems really obvious, is to keep your phone away until you finish meditation. So a lot of people, they, if you hear a lot of talks from, like really like motivational speakers or, really famous like coaches, they always say the morning time is like really your golden time, when you first wake up. And, a lot of people, they like to, the first thing they wake up in the morning is to reach for their phone. And I don't mean there's any judgment in that. It's fine, but I think, try it, right? Try some days, don't do that and see how you feel. And, someday you do it and see, just compare how it feels. The reason why is because when you start to look at your phone, you're starting to become the thermometer. You're starting to react to everything, the text messages or like the emails, and you're reacting to the news, and you start to have all these thoughts distract you from what is really important. And what is really important is really the connection, right? To listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, listen to your inner teacher. Because we are drawn to, like, when we see something, immediately our mind, even me, right? I use my phone, to play music, for example, for meditation. So what I'll do is I always try to I put it on do not disturb right away. Or, you can put it on airplane mode as well, so you don't get to see the messages, or you're not tempted to click on them. So that's one way, a tip. And so I always recommend people like try that out, like don't look at your phone until you finish your meditation. In a way, it's almost like a treat as well. Like I do it for myself. Like when you finish your meditation, then you can look at your phone. It's like almost like a way to motivate yourself as well.
Have you ever had people forget to turn off their phones and like it rings or something during their meditation? Or
yeah. Yes, this has happened before. Usually, if I remember, most people are pretty good. They put it on silent anyway, but even in silent, you can hear the vibrating. But sometimes people, they do forget to put it on, but that's okay. That's fine too, right? Whatever that arises in meditation, whatever sounds arise, it doesn't have to be a phone. Sometimes it could be like suddenly you hear construction noises, things you cannot control. And that's just part of the meditation experience, and that's totally fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me please recap what you have said. Because we have quite a few people, new people joining. So thank you so much.
Hi, Sarah, my friend. Yes.
Please stay with us. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Lee Marine. I think is it Matt, or I'm not sure exactly. But you are watching the You Are Able video series with my guest Tanya, and we are talking about the topic of how to get started on meditation. And Tanya just gave us 3 very practical tips on how to get started on meditation. And I said started, okay? Started, not like, intermediate or advanced. And the first tip that she gave was think of it as like brushing your teeth. If you brush your teeth, I mean, if you don't brush your teeth, 1 or 2 days, it's fine. But she said if you don't brush your teeth for a month, yeah, things will start to happen. So please try to schedule it in, she said. The second tip that she gave is to engage your five senses so that you get into a routine. So whatever works for you, like, Tanya said she likes to turn on the music for her to meditate. So some people like to, it's time to dim the lights and turn on some candles and get ready to do yoga, or excuse me, to do meditation. So she suggested whatever it is that is helpful for you based on your five senses, use that to initiate and remind your brain that, hey, it's time to meditate now, right? Third, she said, this is like, I know, we get addicted to our phones. We seriously, our hand just go to the phone, right? Keep your phone away, turn it off, turn off the vibrate, okay? You don't need vibration. The vibration, okay? During meditation, you only need the vibration like inside here, so these are the three tips that she gave us, and we have a question from Aku315. Should we do yoga then do meditation? Tanya, what do you say about that?
Yes. So in the ideal world, depends how much time you have, of course. Yes. I find that when we do movement, for myself, I also prefer to do yoga or like some kind of movement first before meditation, because you can actually get into the meditation deeper. I don't know, do you find that as well, Abel, for yourself? Yeah,
for sure.
Of course, in yoga class, they also have like the, at the end where you can lie down, the corpse pose, because you can really kind of get into that deeper state of relaxation. So the short answer is definitely yes. Now, the long answer is depends how much time you have. So sometimes if you suddenly your routine is thrown out a window and you only have 1 minute, right? You have 1 minute. So you're like, then, 1 minute of meditation is better than nothing, I always tell people. So, but yes, that's a very good question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. May I add to this, please? I always do meditation after yoga because I'm already in the breathing mode.
Yes.
When you do yoga, you are forced to not think because you have to balance, you have to do all these moves, yeah? And you're focusing on your body, which is very, very good to keep your focus and to keep a clear mind because you can't really think when you're trying to stand on one leg and try to, do these poses. But when you get into the rhythm of breathing through yoga, it really helps to, like Tanya said, it helps to allow you to meditate deeper and quicker. Actually, to meditate quicker, I think. I can get deeper into meditation after I do yoga. Yeah, so it's definitely a very, very good question. Thank you so much for asking. And thank you to the new people who are joining. Now, the third question I want to ask you, Tanya, or actually like the fifth or the sixth one now, is what can people hope to achieve, to obtain through meditation? And, you can, of course, lead this to whatever way you like, but, once again, how can people, or what can people hope to achieve through meditation?
Mm-hmm. So the way that I see it, remember we talked about mindfulness at the beginning, and I know some people just joined. I see that meditation is a really good tool to help us to practice mindfulness. To me, meditation, the great thing is because there's so many benefits, and it really depends on what is your purpose of doing meditation. So that becomes your own kind of motivation. For some people, they use meditation to relax. For some people, they use meditation to look for guidance within. For some people, they use meditation to fall asleep. So it depends really, what you want, the purpose of meditation is for you. And you can achieve that, of course. You can achieve anything you want. But to me, the biggest thing I see anyway is through meditation, we learn how to observe our thoughts. So a lot of people think sometimes during meditation, or at least for me anyway, when I first started, I thought, okay, meditation is about having no thoughts. And then quickly that doesn't work, right? Because like when you're sitting there and then like all these thoughts coming in, and then you start to beat yourself up like, oh, I suck at this, I'm not really good at this, I can't concentrate, so this is not for me, right? I can't have no thoughts. And the truth is, nobody can have no thoughts. You can, and when you get to maybe a deeper state of meditation, it's possible. But it's not the main point of meditation. The main point of meditation is you observe the thoughts coming and you can let them go. So you're not attached to them. So the way how I describe like an analogy that I always use is like you're watching a movie up in the screen. So think about you're the actor and actress of this movie because this is the movie of your life. And you're the director, you're the script writer because you are the one who create your own life. But you are also the audience who's, sitting, on the sofa watching what's going on the screen. So you're not so attached to all this drama that is, or chaos, or it doesn't have to be chaos, but whatever that is happening in your life, you can take a step back, right? And just being to observe with curiosity. So I always tell people, stay curious and not critical. We all have different voices inside us, and we love, we have our inner critic who loves to, right? They just see something and you're like, yeah, you're like not good enough. That's why this is happening, right? This is the inner voice talking, the inner critic. But then, when you start to be able to observe and detach from all these voices in your head, you can say, well, that's one voice, that's one judgment, but maybe I can be curious, instead of saying that I suck, maybe, you change it to a question, why is this difficult for me? Or if we feel angry, right? Why, instead of, pointing finger, like I'm really angry because like this person did something wrong, bring it back to us, right? Bring it back to yourself and say, oh, interesting. Why is it that I feel angry? What is it that got triggered inside me? And I see that, hi, Jody, my dear friend is joined. So I see that as a way, really living a better life in terms of more conscious, you being more conscious of your own thoughts. If we expand a little bit more on vibrational terms, our thoughts are all vibrations too. So we also have to look up to what kind of vibrations that we project.
Right. We have a question, another question from Aku. What should we do when we're angry?
Yes. So what should we do when we're angry is a very good question. And let me first relate this back to meditation, because that's actually a really good question. When I first started meditate, I always thought people who meditate, you need to be calm, you need to be centered. So you shouldn't be angry, right? And what happens when we think that we shouldn't be angry, we start to suppress these feelings, and that's not good. So when we're angry, the more we are able to practice meditation and mindfulness, the more we're able to kind of, that's like that split second, when my friend Caroline's joined. So, that split second, sometimes you're like, so angry, we're going to react and we're going to say something like hurtful to the other person, whoever that person is angry, we're going to say something. That split second is like, okay, am I going to say anything based on, a reaction, because I feel hurt, it's like based on, it's kind of defend myself, a self-defense mechanism, or am I going to respond in a different way? And that's where your daily practice really comes in, right? It's not a one-time thing, you practice every day, and when things like this happen, that's where you can see the results of your practice. Same as like brushing your teeth, right? Your teeth looks fine, and there's no hopefully there's nothing wrong with the tooth because you take good care of them every single day to prevent things happening. So being angry is totally natural. I want to say that too, put it out there. It's not bad to feel angry, because sometimes people feel like, oh, I shouldn't feel angry. They feel guilty being angry. And that's not true. It's totally a natural emotion. If you have you watched the cartoon movie Inside Out before? You must have, or maybe not. No, you can try to watch with your kids. It's called Inside Out. So it's like all these like emotions inside this the main character's head. There's like joy, there's sadness, there's disgust and anger, and the little girl, she needs all these, you know, all these emotions inside her. Anyway, so it's a really good movie. It's a cartoon movie, but very fun to watch, but also you know, it brings, I think it's very educational in that sense as well. So we need all these emotions. And emotions are, they called it's energy in motion. So their energy just rising. And then if you feel angry, you just allow to express it in a healthy way, hopefully, not yelling at somebody, but in a healthy way. So we don't keep it inside us.
And, you know, just to remind the viewers of what you said, to answer your question, or Aku's question, is that when you meditate, you actually learn to almost separate your consciousness with your own thoughts. So in a way, you can learn eventually to become the observer of your thoughts, and you'll realize that whatever feelings and emotion that comes, it's not because of you or you did something wrong. It's just that, you know, it's an emotion, and you don't attach it to yourself and be like, oh, I'm able and I'm angry right now. Like, you don't attach the emotion to who you are, because when you meditate, you start to realize that you can actually observe your own thoughts, so that you start to understand that, you know what, these thoughts are actually, it's not actually me, because you are a soul, you are a spirit, you are beyond the body. And when you get to that stage where you can observe your thoughts, then you start to detach, and you start to not take yourself too seriously, and you start to take people less seriously, and you start to react less to others. But yeah, of course, you still have emotions, because you still have this body that you have to go through, and this environment that we're living in on Earth is not easy place, you know, with a lot of stimuli and lots of emotions and feelings, and you have to go through them. But meditation, like you said earlier, and I'm just repeating what you said, is a way to help us to react less, and also help us to learn to become the observer of our thoughts.
Yeah. And our emotions as well, in this case. You're right.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Is there any other questions? Because we have just, this is perfect. It's 8:32. Is there any other questions from the audience that is here for Tanya or myself? I know you love the leafy background of my curtains. I like nature, so I try to bring a sense of greenery and nature to cover the concrete walls of my house. So, yeah. How about dealing with, is it fear? I would think dealing with fear. ATW. Yes. Okay. How do you deal with fear?
Yeah, how do you deal with fear? Well, the same. That's a really good question. And well, first of all, I think fear is, it's not something that we should avoid. You know, you hear people always say, what you resist persists. So when you resist something, the more you resist it, you give it power. So how to deal with fear, in my own opinion anyway, is to first to really acknowledge it. You know, sometimes, a lot of times we are afraid, but we do other things to cover that fear. You know, we say hurtful things to other people, but because we feel afraid of losing that person, or, you know, we do these things out of fear in response to fear. And of course, with the whole, you know, pandemic situation is a very clear example of that too. So first, and that's totally fine, because we're humans, and we are, you know, I think our brain is hardwired to survive, and to, you know, we have to deal with fear. It's one thing that helps us survive in a way. A Zen teacher once said, you know, there are two types of fears. One fear is really in the present moment, actual fears that you have to be like if there's a snake approaching, you probably, either you run away or, you stay away from the snake. That's physical fear. But a lot of times, the second type of fear we deal with is mental fears. The what if, in our minds. They're actually not happening at the present moment, but we just keep on, what if, this happen, or like, what if like I fail, or what if like, so all these fears are actually not real. They're not real in the present moment. They're just in the mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're just, and because we create this mental fears, we can also dismantle them. But the first way I find it really powerful is just to acknowledge the fear. And the second part, I guess, to the second answer that I would say is really to, if you feel you cannot rise above the fear yourself, that's my cousin Jojo. So if you feel like you can't rise above the fear, call in your support team. Now, when I say support team, your physical support team or your spiritual support team, depending on who you believe in, what you believe in. When I say spiritual support team, as long as I feel that you believe in, something that is bigger than us, right? There is a life force beyond us that we cannot understand. You can call it the divine, you can call it the source, the light. Call in your spiritual support team, because we're not supposed to do everything alone. We are here, like you said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we have all this spiritual support that we have. We just have to ask for the help. Once you ask for help, then, ask and you shall receive. And I don't mean in a religious way. Try it for yourself. I always tell people it's important you try it to yourself and take everything I say as a grain of salt, because that's my own experience from my own filter. And it's important for you to discover your own truth, what works for you. So I tell people, I say all these things and you try it out and see if that works for you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much for the question. And if you have any more questions, I'm sure many of you know Tanya already, but then those of you who your questions for you on her Instagram page, or on her page, Museflower Retreats and Spa in Chiang Rai. But I just want to say thank you so much, and I don't want to make the video too long, because this is recorded, and if you would like to see Tanya's video again because you missed the earlier parts, or you want to see the previous guests of my You Are Able video series, you can go to my website, findyourvoice.asia/video. I have a lot of resources there, and you can take a look at the services that we have. But my next guest is next Monday with Joel Adams, and he is a very, very energetic 71-year-old director, theatrical teacher, actor, and writer. And he's talking about never quit trying. And that is always, underneath the theme of what I'm talking about, You Are Able, is that you are able to learn how to start meditate. You are able to, learn to never quit trying. So everything is, encouragement, motivation, positive. And I want to say thank you so much to Tanya. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, for coming in and to stay with us. So please do, and join me again next Monday. Follow my page, and thank you so much again, Tanya. I learned a lot.
Thank you, Abel.
I hope to be able to go to your place again.
Yes, I hope so also. Yeah.
When are you opening again?
We are reopening on June 19. So it won't work for international guests because the borders of Thailand are not open yet, as we know.
Right.
The borders of Thailand reopen on July 1st, hopefully. But for domestic guests, if you are in Phuket, Bangkok, we are reopening on June 19.
Okay, so please give, if you have a chance to travel, please visit her place again, Museflower Retreat and Spa in Chiang Rai. And if you would like to have any assistance and help in communications, confidence building, or public speaking, I'm here to help you with that as an international presenter and past news anchor. So thank you so much once again. I'm going to end it here now.
Thank
so
you.
much.
And thank you for all my friends who joined. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you, Abel, again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Liana, Steve, Matt, everybody who are my friends who joined. Thank you so much, Tanya. Tanya, see
All
you
right.
soon.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.